Welcome back to yet another edition of the League of the Genuine. This is to remind you this platform discusses the sale, consumption, and use of genuine products because, as you know, we have a lot of fakes. There are fakes all over the place. We're in the festive season. People are looking to make an extra shilling off you, but what are they giving you? Most likely they're giving you a fake product. So this program is dedicated to guiding you, to helping you to differentiate, to identify the fakes from the genuine or the genuines from the fake. We are having a special edition that I've been hosting for the last couple of weeks. This edition is dealing with counterfeits in food. Can you believe it? Even the food you eat, the eggs, the tomatoes, everything can be faked. So this, because I know you like food so much, this is something you cannot miss. You all have got to watch this, and we appreciate those who follow our program, those who subscribe, those who watch us on Facebook. We really appreciate your support, and we are here to support you as well, to keep safe, to ensure that as we fight this pandemic of COVID, the doctors have told us one of the best ways to fight COVID is to have your immune system boosted. And how do you boost it? It's with food, the right food, genuine food. Joining me today for this program is my friend that I have known for many years in this sector of agricultural inputs supply. I think you've been in that sector for more than 2 decades. Agnes Mbabazi is the managing director. Director or managing director?
Managing director.
Managing director, the few women managing directors we have in Uganda in the sector. Agrifarm, Uganda Limited, Agrifarm. Welcome, Agnes.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to see you. The last time we had you was at a dialogue we had organized in the agriculture sector. I see that you are always very, pushing. Are you like the chairperson or chairman for the agricultural input? You have an association. Do you hold a position there?
Yes, I hold a position there. I'm on the executive committee, but I'm not the chairperson.
You're not?
Yeah.
But I think you should consider standing because, as you'll see, she's quite eloquent and articulate and passionate about these issues. But let us start with this. There is information that you agricultural input suppliers, the companies, we have maybe about, 100 companies or so, but there's a disturbing report that I saw that more than 50% of your companies are not even licensed. That you have a lot of companies that are masquerading as licensed suppliers, but when they are not licensed, how is that?
Thank you, Fred. It is a yes or no because I'm not the regulator. But what information I have is that there are so many mushrooming companies right now, but there are also very many that are genuine in this industry that have been doing this business, that are legit and fully
like
registered. There's so many. I don't want to bias anyone, but there's so many. And the Minister of Agriculture definitely has a list because today, to do business in this space, this agriculture space, you need to have a registration certificate for your premises, for the dealership, and for the authorized dealers in the country. So much as there are so many that are registered, but there are also others that are doing business undercover. So we are hoping that with more effort, private sector and the government, everybody will come on board.
So Agnes, for somebody who doesn't know about counterfeits in agriculture, many consumers, or they think this is a mirage, this is something out there, it's not their problem. Can you just throw some light? Why is it that we have a lot of counterfeits in herbicides, in maize seeds, in fertilizers? What's the problem? Why fake those things?
Okay, there are a number of factors.
And what are herbicides, maybe for people to understand?
Okay, herbicides are basically weed killers. These are the pesticides that are used to control weeds. And this is becoming very common because you see there is increasing lack of labor in the farms. So people that used not to use these herbicides are now taking on the use of herbicides. So because of the increased use of the pesticides in general and specifically the weed killers and so on, there's a lot of market. So because there's a lot of market, definitely people are coming on board to start using them. And so the people who like to fake will definitely see the opportunity. So it's the business opportunity, and also there's a very big problem of lack of knowledge on the side of the farmer. The farmer does not know what is genuine, the farmer has no clue what is registered, the farmer has no clue what they use. So these people who want to do fake or who are doing fake take advantage of the farmer. If the farmer, for example, was aware of what is fake and what is not fake, then probably the opportunity will go down. So the increased use of herbicides and pesticides in general, then the glaring opportunities in this industry are forcing many people to fake. But also there's a weak point in the enforcement of the fake products in the market generally. The regulation and so on.
How do you put that in context? Uganda has one of the lowest usage of hybrid seeds, fertilizers,
yeah.
All those inputs. We are still doing things the rudimentary way, relying on natural, the renewable seed. You get the maize and then you plant next season. But then how come we are having an increase of the faking of these inputs, and yet we still have a very low usage?
In general, there's a low usage of these fertilizers and inputs.
What are the percentages like?
Fertilizer, for example, it is 2%. People are not using these fertilizers. But for me, the increase is mainly because there's also increase in use. If you compare like maybe 10, 15 years ago, many farmers in Uganda were not using fertilizers at all. Many farmers were not using hybrid seeds. People are doing, they were replanting the maize that they have harvested. There's a lot of, first of all, the global village, the internet, the social media, and then also most of the companies are becoming more aggressive to market their products. So this means that now farmers are more aware of the fertilizers and the other inputs. And of course, there are many stakeholders, the NGOs that are coming on board to promote the use of genuine fertilizers, the use of hybrid seeds. So generally what we see, there is a very serious trend in the usage of inputs compared to what it was 10 or 20 years ago. So because of the trend of increment in usage, automatically it goes hand in hand with faking. Because if there was no market for the products, then there will be nobody to fake.
Nobody would be selling.
Nobody will be selling. And anyway, the products that are faked are those that are more popular on the market. So that tells the story.
Now there is a thinking out there that actually some of these agricultural chemicals do more harm than good, that they are dangerous. There was a story in the media about, I think the company is Monsanto. They were talking of a product called Roundup, I think, and they were saying that it causes cancer. I don't know, it has glyphosate, whatever product is. To what extent, for the person viewing, to what extent are agricultural chemicals dangerous to plant health and human health or even animal health? And are they counterfeits as a result, these chemicals, if they are dangerous?
Okay, so there are two ways. Generally speaking, most of these chemicals are toxic. So most of them have poison in them. Now, it is even worse when someone comes and starts adulterating the product, because the additives they're putting in the product, we do not know what the chemical reaction looks like thereafter. But going back to the issue of toxicity and safety, all those are concerns. Generally speaking, all the chemicals have the component of toxicity, so they are not exactly safe. But
if not used properly.
If not used
like
properly.
Like anything, even medicine is dangerous.
Exactly, it's exactly like medicine. So if the product is actually fake, it even poses more danger. Now, when it comes to the product of, say, Roundup, now this is a debate all over the world. The idea or the issue that people are saying glyphosate is carcinogenic and they're saying that it causes cancer, they are zeroing on Roundup, yet there are many other glyphosates that are generics on the market. The conversation is bigger all over the world. I cannot even have a conclusion, but the dealers and the manufacturers are still saying, Monsanto and now Bayer, they're still saying it is safe. So we are yet to prove scientifically the safety. But generally speaking, it is a very serious issue of concern when you're using these agro inputs or these chemicals. There are definitely reactions, and then the compositions are toxic. So safety is very critical, and the application.
So
and
are there
exposure.
some banned substances in these chemicals that people should look out for?
There are so many banned products.
No,
all over the world. Yeah, the
particular chemical.
The chemical composition. There's so many. For example, today, you find people selling Gramaxon. Gramaxon was banned all over the world.
Gramaxon is used for what?
It's a herbicide. It's a knockdown herbicide. You spray to control weeds, and it really, you get results immediately. It's not systemic like glyphosate. But today, people are still using it. So the farmer is not even aware that Gramaxon was actually banned. Even those that know that Gramaxon was banned, they still want to use it. Yeah, so it's also an issue of sensitization, but also the farmer should be responsible enough. Even when the ministry still makes it clear that Gramaxon was banned, ambush, for example, was banned long ago, but the farmer continues to use it.
But why blame the farmer for continuing to use it when there is a regulator, when there is a government? I think we have, I don't know how many regulatory agencies. We have agriculture police, we have agriculture chemical control board, we have, I don't know, seed certification, all those issues. Why not blame them instead of
So the Minister of Agriculture is the regulator. So all those are under Minister of Agriculture. Speaking broadly is that the Minister of Agriculture puts out a list to the farmer to know and to the dealers to know. So I can't entirely blame the ministry, because why are the importers bringing this product?
But
and
who licenses the importers, Agnes? Who?
But it's not licensed. It's not.
Who clears the imports?
Of course, the Minister of Agriculture.
So,
but we have a scenario where the importers are bringing it through back door, they cross the porous borders, and they bring it on board. And recently, there was a case where the Minister of Agriculture actually impounded a very big truck carrying Gramaxon to eastern Uganda. And it is all about collective responsibility. The farmer should stop buying. If the farmer stops buying, the importer has no business. And if the importer has no business, they won't bring the product. So it's also, we need, as we blame the ministry for regulation, we should also take responsibility as the importers and also the users.
So we should blame Agnes and her friends,
yes,
the manufacturers and importers. We should blame the regulators. We should blame the farmers who also look out
yes,
for those dangerous things.
Yes.
And then we should blame the consumer as well. Really, a consumer, an ordinary person who has never heard of glyphosate, who is going to shop for their family to buy food stuff for Christmas. Where is this information? Can you refer us to any place where you say this information can be found? Is it displayed in the markets that, please, this carrot, don't buy, look out for this or that? Don't you think it's unfair to the consumers? So
the consumer we are talking about is not the buyer of food. I'm talking about the consumer of the product. And who is the farmer? Yes, who is the farmer in this case? And let me tell you, the farmers are not actually innocent, because they have most of this information. But the farmer is looking out for something cheap. And then also there are these farmers that have a mentality, it's mindset. They don't want to change. You tell them, look, there's a new product. You do not need to use this. Ambush, it was banned long ago. The farmer says it still works well. So for me, for the banned product, the farmer must come up, because the ministry cannot also be everywhere at the same time. So for me, the blame game is all of us have to take responsibility, but most importantly, let the importers also let them be
more
honestly,
responsible.
Yeah, let them be reasonable. Let them not look up to money. Let's not look up to money. Let's import what is genuine and what is allowed in the market, because the farmer sometimes falls into this pit because we have brought it on board.
Okay, Agnes, to what extent are internal weaknesses of the manufacturers, the distributors, responsible for this increase in counterfeits? Because I know in some companies, a company is an authorized agent for a certain product, but you have one of the employees, a manager or somebody, involved actually in doing a bypass, in producing an imitation of the genuine product that the company is distributing. Have you seen that as a problem, and how big is it?
It is actually a problem. But for me, how I look at it, I don't look at it like there's a manager passing behind the company. If a product is made or a product is adulterated in the country, and the company importing it is the one that is doing the game, there's a problem, right from management. But what I'll tell you, generally speaking, it is greed. There's
Greed.
nothing, it is greed, because what people are looking for is money. They are looking for a product where they will make more money. Why would I import a fake product or a less standard product when I can import a standard product? So people are trying to look for more money. And also there are those people who are, who are importing the genuine products and adulterating them from here, to make a multiplier effect. You import 10,000 liters and then you want to get out 20,000 liters by repackaging. Now, this is pure greed. And of course, lack of business ethics. I am sure that if you do genuine business, you can still make money. But the problem is we want to make quick money, want to make a lot of money, and then we want to, we want to make so much out of this without considering the farmer. And by the way, we are not even considering that ourselves are beneficiaries. In the end, you're selling a chemical and then you're consuming the food. So in a way, you're actually killing yourself.
So another fake product.
Yeah, and then you're killing yourself because when you're going to buy, for example, vegetables, you won't know what was used. Probably they're using the fake product that you supplied. So it starts with us, of course, as importers. I mean, the stakeholders are many in this. So we all need to have the game played right.
Agriculture employs 60–70% of Ugandans in productive age, and maybe more than 60% of those employed in agriculture are women. And we've had stories of women having issues, reproductive health issues, fibroids and so on. Do you think some of that is coming from some of these dangerous chemicals that these women could be getting exposed to?
Yeah, I partly agree. You see, there's a lot of exposure. Like you mentioned, most of these products or most of these activities are done by women. Actually, 70% is done by women. Women are the ones in the farms. Men these days tend to, to do borders. When you go to the villages and you're dealing with farmers, you find most of the people are women. The men are either in Kampala looking for money, or they're somewhere looking for money in the fishing villages. So the women have a lot of exposure. Or they're campaigning for politics. So the women have a lot of exposure to these chemicals. And actually, one of the major issues is that most of them, you find them spraying with no protective gear. They don't have protective gear, so they're actually getting these chemicals directly to their bodies. Yeah, of course, through many factors. And they don't have the knowledge of safety, of how they should conduct themselves when they're doing the spraying. I used not to see women spraying, but these days it's a common thing. You find women carrying knapsack sprayers and they're in the garden spraying, and the woman is pregnant.
And sometimes they have the baby.
They're actually, some women are carrying the babies, others are pregnant. So definitely this affects their lives because they're inhaling in all these toxins.
So these stories of children born with the holes in the heart or whatever, you think it could?
It could be, not entirely on the agrochemicals, but it could be also on medicines and all those factors. But definitely it contributes. And it's really a big problem. Even the young girls, you find, because they're putting on dresses and they're, carrying a knapsack sprayer, so they're having residues on their bodies and it's running all over their body. So it's a big exposure to the women.
In this country, most of the cooking, I don't know whether it's true or not, is done by women.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Of course, yes.
But more men nowadays
are
in the kitchen.
Men don't cook.
No, the liberated men also
Probably
cook.
they are trying.
They go in the kitchen and so on. But now for you as a mother, as a woman, as somebody who cooks for your family,
yes,
we're in the festive season, people are going to merrymaking, party. Can you help walk us through some of the things we should look out for in respect of counterfeiting in food? What are those things we need to look out for when we are purchasing the food to cook? What are the things we need to look out for?
So in this particular case, you're talking about the fresh foods in the market.
Whatever food it is.
For example, you're walking into the market in Nakasero to do shopping.
Yes.
The unfortunate bit is that you may not be able to control much at the end of the supply chain, meaning in the market, because already what is coming on the market, we do not even know how it was grown. So the most, the point that is very critical is in the garden, which unfortunately is very hard. Now, when you go today to any market, for example, when you're buying tomatoes, I know that everyone is going to cook will definitely buy tomatoes. There are some of those particular foods that are exposed more, especially the vegetables. Things like onions, you may not see much residues. But take an example of tomatoes. You go to any market, you find the tomatoes are white. They are red but with a white substance on them. So what the farmers are doing and the middlemen who are bringing...
white, what do you mean a white? A paint or what?
It's not a paint, it's actually a chemical. So what they are doing, they're using a chemical called mancozeb, which is actually so toxic. So when they harvest these tomatoes...
Mancozeb is used for what?
It's a fungicide. It's supposed to be used in the garden to control fungal infections, blight and all that. But now what is happening, what the farmers are doing today, I don't know, it's not scientific, but this is the practice today. After harvesting the tomatoes, they spray this mancozeb. You know, when you're doing these chemical things, there's what they call pre-harvest interval. This means that you have a period of time below which you cannot harvest. For example, if you spray today, you should not harvest tomorrow. And every chemical has its own PHI, what we call it, PHI as we call it. Now this mancozeb, if you spray it on the tomato that is already harvested, you're literally eating poison.
So
and
you're saying these grayish tomatoes,
exactly,
which we see, which are hidden in plain sight in the markets, are not good for consumption.
You're eating poison because directly look, this mancozeb is already coated. Go to the market, Muwema, right now go to the market. Just interest yourself and look at the tomatoes that are there. You will hardly find a clean tomato. So what they do, they come and spray the tomatoes. So it's called post-harvest handling. So the post-harvest handling bit is so terrible. So they spray so that they avoid rotting. That's what they say. I'm not even sure it's right. So they bring it to the market.
Shelf life.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now they bring it to the market and we go and buy. So in this festive season, if you're going to buy tomatoes, please, if you see these tomatoes that are gray, people think that these are the best tomatoes. They are actually the worst tomatoes. So generally speaking, this is one of the issues. Then two, when you go to buy vegetables like cabbage, like sukuma wiki, like spinach, you'll find still that grayish thing on the leaves. So this means that you're actually taking in the chemical directly, which is very unfortunate.
But Agnes, don't you think you are really, you have a lot of useful information? You keep it to yourself. You've been in this sector for so long. And maybe that's why we do not have any of the presidential candidates campaigning on the food platform saying that I will ensure the tomatoes are safe, the cabbages are safe. Nobody's talking about it. Don't you think you're holding on to good information? And you're mean. You're
because
not
farming is dirty. Look, all these guys who are talking,
why
I've been seeing...
Why is this issue not getting into on the table of national debate? Why are we debating about other things and not food?
So unfortunately, probably the people who are debating don't even know the use of this food. I am yet to find one person who doesn't eat food every day. But the unfortunate bit is that the attention is actually not given to the food these days. And even when people are talking about food, they're talking about food security, but not food safety. So people are talking about food security. Can we have more food like in the pandemic? Look, everybody is now discussing about food security. You know, because they know that when we had a lockdown, you know very well, everybody became a farmer. I'm sure you also could have planted something.
In the backyard, yes.
This is the only time I wish Corona would probably go a little bit longer. Yeah, because everybody went to the garden. And this time actually the farmers, let me tell you something, the farmers now got the worst ever in the counterfeit world. Because people didn't know what to do. I saw all the corporate people, even those that had never calling me to ask me what they can plant. So everybody has gone into farming. We hope that all these candidates that are standing can start talking about farming. It's high time we start talking about farming and safe farming.
Safe farming,
not just farming and saying we have so many tons of maize. You saw everybody was donating maize during the pandemic.
Half of which was fake.
Most of it had aflatoxin.
Yes.
And aflatoxin is one of the major conversations today in the world. And by the way, Fred, most of the maize in Uganda now is being rejected because of aflatoxin. And this is a post-harvest handling issue. So today, the conversations of food, I think for the politicians and for the people in government who have those platforms, they better take up this issue right now.
And I think really, to be fair to you, because as a lawyer, we have, you know, lawyers and all these people who made the Constitution. We made the Constitution. You've heard of what they call the Bill of Rights. Yeah. There are human rights there. But food is not one of those rights were put there. We put political rights, you know, the right to express yourself, the right to, but food is not there specifically. And so I think this issue is one of the most neglected areas.
Yeah.
The area of food safety, which is something we need.
There's a bill of food safety. I don't know how far it has gone, but there's a bill that actually has been there for a long time. I do not know. I've not really tracked to know where it is. It's been sitting somewhere.
Yeah, that bill gives the National Drug Authority, I think it's called the Food and Drug Bill something.
Yeah,
I attended the training. They were getting stakeholders to give views on this bill. And they are trying to have a proper regulatory framework for food also. So that they want to see if they can put it there. But I think, let's agree, we are all to blame. And it's funny that we all need food every day, but we're not caring really about its quality.
No, the thing with Uganda, we must accept, we are blessed naturally. So people find food on the table. If you go to countries that are struggling, countries like Israel, countries that have specific seasons. In Uganda, we have 2 seasons, so we can grow throughout the year. There are countries that grow once. Even Kenya, they have 1 season. So in Uganda, I think we have this disease of too much.
Too much. We are spoiled for choice. We have
too much. You go, you find rotting tomatoes everywhere. Other countries can't have that luxury. So we have a lot of luxury with food, and probably that's why we are not giving attention. But probably very soon in the next few years, when we start having food shortages, then we shall wake up. But it all comes back to where the food starts, in the garden. So if we don't protect what comes from the garden, and if we don't protect our gardens, you see the climate change right now, you see global warming, you see a lot of so many emissions. You know, there are so many things around climate change right now. And if we don't embrace it quickly and give it attention right now, we are going to be, we are going to face disaster.
Yeah, and I think, here on this show, we have rallying points that help us to understand these concealed dangers of counterfeits. We have Duncan, which you've heard of. One of my favorite letters in that Duncan is N. Negligence, basically. Negligence. Today I want to talk about negligence of with the consumers. We have this habit here, like you said, because we have a lot of food. We throw away a lot of food. Somebody will invite you to a luncheon or a dinner. It is just 5 of you, but food for 20 people will be cooked, and half this food will be thrown away. We are not efficient with managing this resource called food. What is your message to Ugandans, to Africans listening during this festive season? How should we handle, as part of responsible behavior, how should we be handling food? Should we just be throwing? No, because we have plenty. We have plenty of food around us. That's why we are so negligent, and we don't really care about the food, because we know we have today, we have tomorrow. Yet somebody elsewhere in the world is looking for food for today. So I don't see, for me, the point where you have 10 guests coming around and then you're cooking food for 50 people. Again, it comes back to luxury. It comes back to too much food around us. Very cheap food, by the way. Probably the cheapest in East Africa is in Uganda. It is a very common occurrence that during the festive season, people will give away food. You will get people giving you all these baskets of gifts full of foodstuffs, rice and so on. That's what people give during the festive season. And you can receive more than 10 bouquets for food. But if we did not have this food, like many countries are, you go to Haiti, you go to Eritrea, just the countries nearby here that don't have food, you cannot afford to find anything thrown. So I think Ugandans should be responsible. Work to the city authorities and to clean up, and the garbage increases. If you have plenty on your plate and you cannot eat it, please give it out to people that need it. There are so many people who need it. There are many people in prisons. There are many people in these babies' homes. There are many people that have orphanages that actually don't have enough food. The problem in Uganda is you find people who have plenty. There are those who are lacking. So please be generous. You don't have to throw food. Give it to somebody who needs it. Cook what you need to eat. Don't overcook. Don't overeat. Even don't overeat. And that's one we don't know. We have too much time. Because we are having a big issue. I was checking the figures the other day. Our public health budget is crumbling. And a lot of health-related issues, that are diseases that are basically coming up because we are overeating.
We don't eat right. We don't eat right.
We don't eat right. We are basically overeating and falling sick. And
Yeah.
okay, now before we conclude, I would like to put the spotlight again on you, the agriculture input dealers. I know you have an association and you come together. I don't know whatever you do in those associations, because you are meeting every day, having meetings, but the effects are increasing. So maybe there's an issue there. But let's talk about e-verification programs for these agro inputs.
Yeah.
I know that for the last 10 years or so, there have been a lot of funded programs helping the farmers to identify the seeds and so on. What are those programs you've had, and are they still there? If they are not, why have they failed?
I think the one program that came up was e-verification. I think the challenge was this e-verification was funded by a donor, and then it didn't roll out properly. First of all, it was not mandatory. I think for me, that's the biggest challenge. If there was a law, or if this e-verification,
maybe explain
or the vouchers,
what was involved in the e-verification.
So the e-verification, what was involved is that they came up with a QR code. So you had a sticker that you were putting on the bottle with the code. So on this code, a farmer is supposed to scratch and get the number therein and send the number to a particular toll-free number to verify that this product is actually genuine. And the farmer is supposed to get an instant reply.
So that was put on what product?
So this on the agri inputs. This is specifically on insecticides, on fungicides, and on herbicides. But the challenge was very few importers took it on. It was like more of a sample, and then the funding was done by a project, a USAID project that closed. When it closed, there was no continuity. Secondly, the platform that was used had their base in UNBS. So the importers didn't, UNBS, So the importer didn't take it on and didn't own it up. And it was not a mandatory thing. Because it's not mandatory, people do it the way they want. People did it voluntarily. I remember when they started this e-verification thing, I was working with Bolton, Uganda, and I was very keen. I'm very keen to take on innovations, really. I want to take on innovations that bring safety and all those things. So we took it on. But the challenge we got was the farmer didn't actually know how to scratch. Secondly, the farmers didn't have phones.
But isn't the scratching like for the airtime?
It is like airtime.
So,
but
farmers would know that.
Farmers would not actually know. You'll be surprised. They will go to a dealer. So they buy a bottle and then they tell the dealer to scratch for them. So it is the same dealer probably who is faking. So the dealer would not send the number to UNBS for verification.
And say this is
and
okay.
Then you come say, it is fine. And then the farmer takes. So it had a lot of challenges. I still do believe that this can be a very good working tool if it can be taken on. But again, the regulator has to take it on. But there are so many other options that can be taken on to bring about
so do you think this e-verification and other technology-supported schemes should be reintroduced? Do you see them as some of the way to push back on these fakes? Yeah,
it's one of them. I know with the seed, it worked well. With the seed, it worked well, actually. And because the seed companies came with their own regulation, together with Ministry of Agriculture, and they still put a stick on their seed. But the thing with us now, with the technology, the farmer still has a challenge of how to have access to this technology. And when we don't have that in place, then it's still a big challenge. But Fred, there are so many things on our hand that we can use even before the verification, including personal responsibility from us, the importers, from the regulator, and from the farmer. The farmer should actually take it upon themselves to work with the genuine import dealers that are accessible to them so that they get genuine. But sometimes they also want to go for cheap. The farmer is always looking out for cheap, which in the end becomes more expensive. Because of poverty? Yeah, of course, because of poverty.
Is that a justification?
Of course it is poverty.
If you're poor, must you consume counterfeit?
For me, I don't justify that. Because in the end, they buy a product, the application rate is higher for it to work. So instead of buying one bottle at 20,000, you buy 2 bottles at 40,000. So
we had here somebody from the Farmers Federation.
Yes.
Who said that the reason why Kakasa failed, that e-verification system, largely was because many of the agro-import dealers did not embrace it. And during that time, you were in Balton.
Yes.
And I don't know, did Balton embrace it?
Yes, we did. That's what I just mentioned. We did. I remember we started with the key products. But like I said, like he rightly said it, many didn't. And the reason was it was voluntary. So it now depends on you, the manager. We embraced it. We put it on our products. We got a little bit of feedback, but also the way it was done actually was not very, there was no traceability.
The execution
was not right, because what I expected is that I understand my product very well. So the number that comes, I should be able to verify myself and say the product is genuine from me. But the message was going to UNBS, and then we never got to see exactly the callers and the response and so on. But we took it on.
So how is, you are now in Agrifarm.
Yes.
So how is Agrifarm ensuring safety of the products it puts on the market now that this carcass is not there? Do you have a scheme?
Now, it is still a challenge. But what we are doing is that today, every company is fighting for their own product. Okay? There is no general thing of saying that when I bring my product, guaranteed nobody will fake it. As soon as your product picks up on the market and becomes very popular, the bright guys or the chaps in this town will definitely go for it. Yes. So what I'm trying to do at Agrifarm is what I've actually done, even previously where I have worked. To reach out to the farmer, you get your own message across through the media, through SMS systems you send to your farmers, and then say, this is the product, look it out to these suppliers. And of course, trying to work with a few distributors across the country. But even then, there's a very huge gap for the farmer to know what is genuine.
But you're busy sending messages and showing people pictures of your genuine product, and yet also the fake guy is sending the same picture. They look the same.
Actually, you'll be surprised. The guys who are doing fake, their product is more genuine, looks more genuine than yours.
On the packaging.
They are smarter, they are ahead of you. When you're here, they are 2 steps ahead of you. And the only thing that we can do right now, because look, even if I came to a shop today and I find someone with my product which is fake or which is not registered, I don't have the capacity to lock up this person doing the fake product for me, because I'm not mandated to do that. So the only thing we can do is to reach out to the farmer and say, look here, this is the product that we are selling, this is the application rate, find it in this place. This is the so much we can do. But
really now, so you are telling viewers that it's just doom, you know? You've given up because you've been in this for 30 years, and what you're telling us is, well, look after yourselves. I cannot help. Is it that hopeless, really?
No, it's not hopeless. I know for sure that there are many interventions that are coming up. But like I said earlier, if a farmer knows that he's looking for Roundup, for example, if I may use that brand as they know it, or the farmer is looking for, say, urea, most of these farmers will go to a shop in their vicinity. Okay? They will not come to Kampala because the farmers are all over the place. They will look for the distributor within their area of operation. So if this distributor makes it upon himself to buy the genuine product from me, the importer, then we have a deal. But if the guy, for example, in Lwebitakuli or somewhere deep in Sembabule or somewhere in Kamwenge, makes it upon himself to come to Kampala and say, please, I want the cheaper Roundup, or I want the cheaper 2,4-D. That means that he's already doing an injustice to the people in the villages. So it has to start from the ministry, to the importers, to the dealers. There are these guys, the small guys in the villages that are trading in this business, and also finally the farmer. It is a whole chain. So if one person in the chain is not doing the right thing, then we are all bound to fail.
Then the whole thing collapses.
Yes.
So as Agrifarm, are you ready to work with this platform? Because we have a lot of capacities in communication, in legal enforcement, in ensuring that we do not just stop at lamenting, but actually action should be taken. The challenge we have with legal enforcement is that you cannot prosecute somebody when the product owner is not coming to give evidence.
Absolutely. For us, we are ready to work with anybody. Look, if your product is faked, at the end of the day, you are the loser. One, you lose on the sales because you cannot sell, because the person doing counterfeit is selling half the price, so you're losing out on sales. Number two, you're losing out on your brand credibility. your brand runs down in the shortest time possible, because when it doesn't work, they stop using it. So we are, as Agrifarm, we are working with all stakeholders, starting from the regulator, Minister of Agriculture, with all the key stakeholders like SCN. It will be a very good platform if we all combine together. CropLife Uganda, SCN, Minister of Agriculture, and the importers.
And the presidential candidates also. They need to...
Those ones, I don't know who'll bring them on board. You need to do that.
I think we should invite some of them here.
You need to
come and tell us, what is your plan for putting safe food on the table of Ugandans?
Probably they don't have information, so they need to first calm down and understand what is out there. The thing is, all the guys who are running around looking for votes, they are looking for your vote. They don't care about what happens around
what you eat.
They don't even mind what they eat. How can they mind about what you eat? So I think they need to wake up. I know that there are so many initiatives in the ministries, but we need to now make it operational. Come up and say, what do we do about food? The food that we are eating, because the one thing that people forget, food is like medicine. Everybody must take food at one point of time. Everybody must take medicine. And for food, you take it every single day. So politicians should actually come on board. I know we have a whole, I think, department in Parliament that is responsible for agriculture. For goodness sake, where are they? We don't see them. We know there's an MP who is in charge of this agriculture thing. But Muwema, you've been around. Show me what are they doing about it? There are so many budgets in Ministry of Finance. Why are we not putting our effort on the food?
The quality of the food is the
Exactly.
issue that Agnes is talking about. So Agnes, your parting message, time is not on our side. Your Christmas message, if you have. You have a chance to print something now.
Okay, thank you very much. To the viewers and to all the Ugandans, during this COVID pandemic, the message has been eat well, boost your immunity, let's have food security, and so on and so forth. My message is very simple. Let's eat healthy. The farmer is the doctor. Whatever comes from the farmer is what is going to nourish our bodies. So the farmer, the message to you is, please use the genuine products, especially the inputs, so that we put out the food that is good for us to boost our immunity. And to the consumers of this food, also you should be alert. Do not buy these foods that you see contaminated.
Or do not look out for cheap.
Say no to them. When you go to the markets, buy what you look at that doesn't have contamination. The farmer will always remain the key person in our safety. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Agnes. I think that wraps it up for this episode of the League of the Genuine program on fakes in agriculture, in food. You've heard Agnes there talking about what you need to watch out for when you're buying the tomatoes, the vegetables. We are all heading down to what I can call a COVID Christmas, Christmas. But COVID Christmas, we are appealing to ourselves, to yourselves, to ensure that you promote the buying, the selling, the eating of genuine food. Remember, it's Christmas time, and if you love Jesus, then you have to love genuine products. Thank you.